So yeah, I'll give you the channel card, and we'll edit the video, all the stuff that that's right. I already gave you one. I gave you one to start.
Yeah, that's right.
If you you can get in touch with, you can get on that channel and get in touch with us. Do you happen to go? You sound like you had a Christian church background.
Yeah.
Most people do not know 7 to 8 of the 10 Commandments. Where you at on that? How you doing?
I'm a pastor's kid.
Okay. Well, he's basically a pastor's kid. I always worry.
So it was burned in me at a young age, but I've forgotten a lot of it. So
I hear you, man. You mentioned the third commandment about taking God's name in vain, and there's multiple applications to that command. It's do not take the Lord's name in vain. But if you look at the original Hebrew and what's meant by that, it can mean various things. It's basically don't shame the name, and what that could entail, for example, is hypocrisy. Like if you say, hey, I'm a follower of Jesus, and yet you are a habitual commandment breaker, right, you are shaming the name. You're bringing shame and disgrace upon the name of the Lord, and you're carrying it in vain or carrying it in misuse. So I bring that up because I'm willing to bet, I didn't come up as a pastor kid, I grew up the exact opposite, but I'm willing to bet that one thing that every pastor kid would struggle with is like my own children, you see the inner, you're in the inner circle, so you see what goes on behind closed doors. So if a person is up there preaching truth 1 minute and yet you see their humanity, which often isn't very pretty, and it's kind of hard to reconcile the two. You know,
right.
You say this, Dad, or whomever. You say this, but hey, I know I hear you yelling and screaming at Mama or whatever. You know, it's just so it'd be pretty hard to separate those two and not say, well, how true can this be if this is all that, you know, if you still struggle with this and you still have these problems and yet you believe this and you preach that, then how great is that Bible really, or how great is that God really, or how great is that gospel really? So and that's one reason though I take the time to differentiate between what the scriptures actually say and what unfortunately they've been twisted to say, because you know many people look at Christianity, they look at the hypocrisy in Christianity, they look at because in the scripture even says it, Paul says, because of you the name of God is blasphemed amongst the Gentiles, because you say one thing and yet you do another. It's in Romans 2. We're human, but hey, at the same time Yeshua did say, walk as I walked, abide in me, live by my commands. So, unfortunately, we're busy trying to make excuses for that and rule that out, and then in turn, you see a hypocrisy galore. And so, no wonder that someone says, if that's the best you got, I don't, no thanks. I'd rather have my fun elsewhere. So I don't know you, and I don't know your individual struggles. But like I said, I can't imagine with my own children, because like I said, I know my own children see my own faults, and I try to remind them, hey, don't look at me. Like just because I might fall short of the truth, that doesn't take anything away from the truth. That doesn't take anything away from God and His perfection and His love for us. Just because I'm a failed human, I'm gonna, if I stumble, I'm gonna try and get back up and walk it out like He told us to. So the thing is, it makes it a lot easier if you have a heart about you, a desire to please the Father and walk right and live right, as opposed to trying to keep trying to make room for sin, basically. Keep making excuses as to why those commands don't really have to be obeyed. So I'm not sure if that makes sense to you, but
no, I hear you.
But so anyway, so if you care to, and we don't, and I can cut out whatever you want to cut out, but what you grew up around it, in it, but what would you say is the reason why you just kind of said, I'm not really feeling it?
I mean, I wouldn't say I've gotten to that point. I just busy lifestyle, just work a lot, so just haven't not involved as much as I was when I was younger. So I wouldn't say I've turned away or anything.
One of the commands that we went over was remember the Sabbath, to keep it holy.
Right.
Would you say that's something that you make a priority that you do, or no?
It's a tough question, man.
Because, and I ran into this myself. I used to have a really hectic, crazy job, working tons of overtime and crazy hours. I was just felt like a zombie running ragged. And so no wonder it was really hard for me to hear the voice of God, to think about, to meditate on Him and His ways when money had me so inundated and so preoccupied and so bogged down. So that's, to me, that's one of the baits of Satan. That's one of the things that the ways that we're led astray, because Yeshua made it clear you cannot serve both God and money. So if believe it or not, I was making $150,000 a year and became convicted and pricked about this command about the Sabbath. It says, remember the Sabbath, keep it holy. And the Sabbath is, contrary to what mainstream churches will tell you, that the Sabbath is actually Friday at sunset to Saturday at sunset. That's the Sabbath. That's the seventh-day Sabbath. So we can try and make excuses as to why we don't have to do that all we want, but when we do that, we're doing the same exact thing that Adam and Eve did in the garden. That's what got us into this mess, was them saying, did God really say blah? Did God really say not to eat? We with the Sabbath, we basically say, did God really say that we have to set aside the seventh day of the week, Friday sunset to Saturday sunset, as His time and only His time? And so, especially for me, I'm making six figures, and it was impossible. There was no way I was going to be able to work this job, make this money, and keep His Sabbath. But the more and more, man, it got to the point where I got in my car, I turned on the radio, somebody's talking about the Sabbath. I opened my Bible and read anywhere, the Old Testament, New Testament, it didn't matter, Sabbath, to the point where I was like, you know what, all right, Lord, I think there's something about this. And I quit that job. I told my employer, hey, come this year, come 2016, I'm going to start keeping the Sabbath. If that works for you, if I can go to a Monday to Friday kind of thing, great. I'll bust my butt from Sunday through Friday afternoon, if that works for you. They're like, no, sorry, bye. And so here I am talking to you 4 years later, but my life has been so much better, and I believe I was literally saved from death. That job had me working so crazily. I can't tell you how many times I was on my way home from work, 45-minute drive, and running off the road. I was just dead dog tired all the time. So, and again, the only excuse is, well, I need to pay for this mansion of a house that I live in, and these cars I got, and all this other crazy stuff. But who told me to pursue those things? Who told me to get bogged down? Last I checked, Yeshua said, how hard it's easier for a camel to go through an eye of a needle, or easier to put a rope through the eye of a needle than it is for the rich man to enter the kingdom. And here I am, making all this money, and I'm confronted with this truth, is the Sabbath for us to keep or not? Is the fourth commandment, was God serious about the fourth commandment, the fourth of the 10 commandments, or not? And I eventually said, I think He is, kept it, and been blessed ever since, and saved from that literal physical death that I was living, for so much time. So I'm relating to you, saying that I totally get it, that when you can get, when you're so busy and bogged down physically with work and all that other stuff, it pulls you away. It pulls away your God time. That's why God said, set aside a designated time for me each week. That's our appointment. That's like our date night. We should. This is our appointment each week, and that's your time for family, for faith, family, and fellowship. So and as long as you maintain that and tell the world and Satan, no matter what you say, this is my God time. This designated time is for faith, family, and fellowship, no matter what. That's for your employer, your spouse, whomever, whatever. Period. This is God's time. And that will keep you on track. Those rules are for us. So go down the list of the 10 commandments, and it's all the same stuff. It's God knowing our nature and giving us this perfect prescription of how to walk in peace and how to walk in love with each other, and in right relationships. We, like I said, think we got it all figured out. And I don't really have to avoid eating these foods. I don't really have to, worship God on this day. It's crazy. And then all of a sudden, when we are dealing with obesity, cancers, all the fruit of our going our own way, all of a sudden people want to, what they do? They blame God. If God's so good, then why are there this and that? And most all these problems are things that we brought on ourselves. But you know all this because you're a pastor's kid, and you've been hearing it. So again, what you might not hear is that the law wasn't done away with, and the Sabbath, God's all the 10 commandments are still very much so applicable today. That's the whole point of being made new and our hearts being rewritten so that we're empowered to do that. And then in turn, one of the last things Jesus at the end of the gospel, Matthew 28, one of the things he says is go out and make disciples of all nations. Teach them to obey what I've commanded you. Teach them to obey the commands. They don't think I came to do away with them. I came to fill them full. So, but how many people are doing that? How many of us who call ourselves believers are going around, encouraging the rest of the world, infecting this world with righteousness, urging people to follow God's ways. So anyway, I don't mean to beat anything over your head. I'm just relating to you, human to human. Is there anything that I can pray for you about? Anything that you need?
Nothing I can think of right now.
And I'll give you my number if you want. You can